Now, back to Pound of Flesh. One thing that I found interesting was the how you went about portraying the abuse that's in the story, and it's sort of a tricky thing because if you read a true story about abuse, just a clinical account, whether it's a police report, a news report, or someone just telling you what somebody went through, the choices that people make when they're under duress and when they're in abuse don't make any sense to somebody who's outside and cold and analytical. So, like a true
Right.
life abuse story makes no sense to most people. Like, why did they
Sure.
stay? Why did they make those choices? Why didn't they
Hmm.
leave then? You know, it goes on and on and
Yep.
on. So the truth is, when we're in a bad situation, our choices don't make sense to people outside a bad situation. Now, the problem with trying to portray that in fiction then is if it doesn't make sense in real life, when you try to portray it realistically in fiction, you're going to have the characters making choices that people will say, "Well, this doesn't make any sense," and
Sure.
you don't get the benefit of the doubt because it's not a true story, quote unquote. And
Right.
I saw your work in there to try to both portray like even though it makes no sense to stay, we're going to stay for a while because that's what people that are abused do. But then also trying to make that work in a fiction setting so that the audience doesn't get disconnected, even though that is a choice that realistic people would make.
Sure.
How did you go about portraying that dance where they're going through all that before they even consider that leaving is an option?
Well, I mean, the the thing that and of course, I mean, it's cool that you saw that. I mean, I really didn't know that that was a portion of it that anyone would ever like kind of pick up on. But yeah, I mean, I can't because as I was writing, I'm like, well, why wouldn't they just get in the truck and get the fuck out of there?
Right, right.
Like right now. Well, there's because of reasons. Okay, so I would try and think of like, how would someone who's just so used to it, who's just so accustomed to the verbal and or physical abuse in the case as well in Pound of Flesh, like they just want to get through it. Um, but they're also sort of they're locked into this mindset where it's normal to them in a way. Uh, and as you kind of see in Pound of Flesh, it takes Noah to go, hey, this is not normal,
Yeah,
and I'm not having it anymore. Um, but there's the system itself. People go, well, why didn't she just leave and just go to the cops? I mean, I don't. I'm not a police officer. I don't know exactly how things work. But in my imagination, it's that the system is not really set up to protect you right away.
yeah,
You have to, and particularly with a child, you know, the chances are that kid's going to go somewhere away from both parents while the courts sort things out. And to me, that was the main reason. Is like her, Ada and Noah are kind of on. I mean, they're on the same team in this really terrible situation, and they neither one of them wants to lose the other. So that's why they stay, and because they don't want to get into a situation where they have to be separated. Um, whether who knows, it could be indefinitely, it could be just for a long period of time, and then on the other side with Ada, the mother, she's not convinced that Hugh won't come find her and do worse,
right.
and then she's completely removed from her son's life, and she doesn't want that either. So it's basically the story of them like trying to figure out how much more of this can they take, which that's a key portion to some the plotting that goes on, is that she conceives of a way to get them out of that situation, a very unconventional way to get them out of the
Yeah,
situation. So they're kind of beset on all sides by um, horrible things. Some they can explain. I mean, some an abusive husband is one of them, and then all the other stuff is something. The supernatural stuff is something completely foreign to them, and they have no idea how to handle it.